Hey guys, Steve Welch here. Wanted to have a conversation with you guys about the auto market and a little bit about what's been going on over the past 3 years and how it's actually hurt the auto market itself, the customer, and the dealership. And I'll get into all that here in just a little bit. But a brief history kind of where it came from. So there's an addendum that was put on cars to actually add a markup on them. So what it kind of came from, and the addendum's nothing new. The addendum was normally added if you had something like, say, you added a $6,000 or $7,000 suspension to a new Tacoma or something like that, and you'd say, all right, well, we've done this work to the car, so we've added $6,000 or $7,000, whatever that number is. So now the new sales price is this, and they would add addendums, and there were some times that dealerships would add them for things like pinstripes and stuff like that, and things that were less advantageous to the customer, of course. But that's the kind of the history. Well, in the past 3 years, we started seeing these market addendums for, and some of them would say markup, some would say ACV, which stands for actual cash value. Some would just say additional profit. I mean, there were some times that it was just wrote out like that. So all these different things could be said, of course, of the of what the market addendum or the market adjustment was. So why did it happen? So and that's a pretty good question to kind of answer. So what it was is you have all these dealerships, and you had March and April of 2020, and they're looking at the cars on their lots, and everything had just shut down. They're trying to work on, the factories were trying to work on how do we work farther apart so we're safer, all of those kind of things. They were trying to figure that out. Well, they weren't building any cars. So what happened was, everybody thought the auto market was going to die. I mean, they thought it was going to be like nobody's going to buy a car, and it doesn't really matter, we're not building them, nobody's going to sell them anyway. And that was kind of the thought that a lot of people seem to have. Well, so the manufacturers ended up doing things like 0%, and they did like rebates and stuff like that to try to spur business. Well, it turned out that not only did they not need to spur business, but with things like the government handing out some cash and stuff like that, the business got spurred kind of on its own. So what they ended up doing, they pulled that back. Obviously, those things went up, but these dealerships started to look and say, well, normally I have 150 or 200 cars on the ground, but due to those incentives and people actually buying those vehicles, I have a half of that, or a third of that, or a quarter of that. And they started saying, well, I don't know when I'm going to get replenished. So since they said it that way, they were like, all right, well, if I don't know that I have a product to sell, I need to make more money on each one of the ones that I have. And at one point it said about 92% of the dealerships in the country were charging over MSRP. So it started, and it was like, some would do like 1,000 over, 1,500 over, but then there was some that just got like crazy. There was one Mercedes that I saw that was $100,000 over sticker. And it's like, I saw a RAV4 that was original MSRP was $46,000. It was out in Oakland, and it was $96,000 was what they were trying to sell it for. And I mean, they probably got it, to be quite honest with you, right? So that's kind of the short of how we got there. There are all these dealerships are like, oh, if I don't charge more for these now for what I've actually got, I won't be able to pay my people, keep the lights on, pay the rent, pay interest, on their car notes, things like that, because most of the dealerships actually finance their inventory. So that's just kind of the thought process. So you're buying a car, and if they have a third of the cars on the ground, they need to make 3 times the regular profit on that car just to stay even. And that's their mindset in it, right? So and I'm going to come back to how that's hurt both them, the auto industry, and the customer, because you're going to find out it's hurt all three, and one of them doesn't even know it yet. But so now what ends up happening is you have the customer that comes in. Well, the banks were still hungry, right? They wanted their loan in there, and you had this government money that was coming in. So a lot of times people were taking that government money that they got and they were adding that to whatever income they had. So all of a sudden they qualify for a $700 or an $800 a month loan, when without the additional money they might only have a $2,500 income. So that became a problem for some people, because they could qualify for more, but once the other money went away, they couldn't pay it. So that's going to become a bigger problem, and it already is in some cases, right? So so what the banks were approving was, I mean, you get a lot of people that were approving loans that didn't make a whole lot of sense, because the market value of those vehicles was so high that you could actually buy one. If you got it at MSRP, you could buy that, turn around and sell it, and make thousands of dollars on it. You still can in a lot of cases. So, I mean, there were people that did that. But so the banks could approve a little bit more because the value was there. So these customers, what most of them did, and if you're watching this, you might be one of them, is you put zero down. You did 84 months on a loan that was $5,000 or $10,000 over MSRP. So if you think about that, and then your average payment went up to $740 a month. That was your average payment in the US, $740 a month. So if you have, that kind of a payment, and something goes wrong, then obviously that can be kind of hard to make that payment. So here's the other thing that happens. So with the new cars being elevated so high, and being 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30,000 in a lot of cases over MSRP, it actually drove the used car market even higher. So if you were looking for a 1, 2, 3-year-old used car, well, you were a lot of times on that used car paying over original MSRP for that car. So that's, something that happened, right? It's still happening in a lot of cases, depending on the brand and the reputation of that brand for reliability, and keeps that price pretty high, right? So and that's happening in, like I said, a lot of cases that's happening. So you still had the banks that were looking at the book value, which is still up there, right? And they were still loaning on it and based off of that book value. Well, if the prices were to all of a sudden come down, or if the market was to stabilize a little bit more, and say that all the manufacturers went back to producing 100% of the cars that they produced before, which right now, I think Toyota's probably at like 30% or something like that. They're not making quite what they did before, but let's say that everybody went back, and now you got cars on the ground and that's what really is going to drive the prices down. That, and then if you get some rebates and stuff like that from the manufacturer, special interest rates from the manufacturer, obviously that's going to make it to where the used car is a little bit less good looking to you, and you stick with the new car at that point. So that'll drive prices down, and at some point that's going to happen. To a small extent, it happened a little bit, and then it went back up. So it's like, there's some things that are trying to happen. All right, if they do happen, now what happens for you? So as the consumer, let's say that you bought a $30,000 Accord or a $30,000 Camry, something like that, and this, you have to think about it in this mindset in order to understand what you've done to yourself. And by the way, take ownership of it. Realize that you got had, and not all of us did that to our customers. I mean, Beeman never did, but there were a lot of dealerships that did. But just realize you're in a bad spot. And it's their fault for doing it, but it's your fault for doing it too. So just realize that. I'm not trying to be mean to you. I'm trying to help you. So that's the first part here. So what you probably did is you took that $30,000 Accord, you paid $5,000 over MSRP to buy it, right? So now you have a $35,000 car, and now that's what you pay taxes on. So you don't pay taxes on 30, you pay taxes on 35. So by the time you pay your taxes, your fees, everything else, you probably have, what, 38,000 in that car, something like that. So if you have 38,000 in that car, and you go, oh, for whatever reason, I now need to go and I need to sell that car. All right, so your neighbor says, yeah, you know what? I've been looking for one of those. I'd love to buy that car from you. And then you go, all right, so I just want what I owe. All right, you've been paying on it for a year, and you paid your $740 a month payment, and you owe 35 grand. Let's just say, right, 35 grand. Good round number. So you go to your neighbor and say, all right, I need 35 grand on it, breaks me even, and I'm very, very happy. So your neighbor goes and looks at the dealership and say that things are back to normal now, and you've got, and let's just say they're just, everybody starts doing MSRP like we've been. And you're going, all right, so that car's $30,000 for me to buy it from the dealership, brand new. Your car's 1 year old, got 15,000 miles on it. I buy it from the dealership, I've got the full warranty, I've got all that, right? So if I buy your car, I got to pay taxes on 35. If I go to the dealership's taxes on 30. So I'm all in at 33, 34 with a brand new car, full warranty. Toyotas come with a maintenance plan, right? So you got all that. Or I can buy your car, which by the time I pay taxes on, I'll be, at 38. So I can be at 33 or 38. Unless that neighbor feels really, really charitable, that doesn't make any sense. Why would he give you 38 for a car that's a year old used that he can buy for 33 as an out the door number, right? It wouldn't make any sense, and he probably wouldn't. I mean, like I said, unless he's feeling charitable, right? So that's where you're at. So if you paid that $5,000 over, you need to cover that $5,000 and cover it as quick as you can. That will put you back into a positive position. So if you want to cover $5,000 in negative equity, you pay $500 extra a month, and you'll cover that in a year, right? So and I know if you're paying a $740 payment, add 5 to it, and you might be going, you're crazy, I can't make that kind of a payment. I understand that. So if you're paying $740, round it to 8, something like that, because you're gonna need to try to find a way to lower your payment, especially if you're on a car that's less known for holding its value. If you're on something like a Kia or a Chevy or something like that, and it's less known for holding its value, you're gonna need to really try to pay attention to what you're doing if you ever plan on getting out of it. Now, if you just say, look, I'm going to drive it till the wheels fall off. Some people say that, and then 2 years later they come back and buy a new car. But if you're going to drive it till the wheels fall off, then yeah, you've got time to pay that down, but you're not going to be right side up, meaning have no negative equity. You're not going to be there in that car for a long time. So just realize that. And own it. Like I said, just own that reality, right? So that's kind of the gist of how we got here and where the customer is. All right, so now let's talk about going forward. And I told you that it's hurt everybody, and the market adjustment has even hurt the dealerships that charged it. And this is, a little bit, some people that I've said this, they've been a little bit, how could it have hurt them? They made all this extra money, which in reality, they used that money, they used the deposits they got on upcoming cars, stuff like that. They used that for their normal expenses. They didn't really try to lower a lot of their expenses, things like that. They just kind of tried to maintain, right? And it makes sense, right? So you had the automakers and trying to save face, because there was a lot of people out there that were mad and saying, I can't believe GM let them do this, and I can't believe that Ford let them do this, and these companies let them do these market adjustments. Now keep in mind that they don't have a whole lot of teeth when it comes to getting them to stop, because and I always tell people, look, the dealership could sell you a car for $1 if they wanted to. Now, they won't stay in business long doing that, but there's nothing that says that they have to sell you a car for a certain price. It's a manufacturer suggested retail price, MSRP, right? So if they can sell it to you at $100,000 over sticker and you're willing to pay it, they can sell it. There's if they go $2,000 back of what they own it for, and you're going, why would they sell it like that? They can. There's nothing that stops them, right? So that just realize that there's nothing that stops that from happening. It's just up to the dealership for what they want to do, and there's different reasons to do different things, but a little bit of a rant there. But anyway, so I mean, even Ford and Chevy, they put out these letters to their dealerships demanding that they stop. And make no mistake about it, those letters weren't aimed at the dealerships. Those letters were aimed at the public because of all these people that were saying that. How can they let them do this? They wanted to make sure that people knew it was not them. It was not the manufacturer. If you were charged over MSRP, the manufacturer had nothing to do with it. They made the vehicle. Now, I had a girl call me from New York, and I helped her out because she had already agreed to pay over MSRP on a Highlander that was at a local dealer up there, and it was everything she wanted, and she agreed to pay $4,000 over MSRP for a Highlander hybrid. And she's like, I want the car, but they just called me, and it was from this channel, so hopefully she's still out there. But she was like, they called me and told me that they're raising the MSRP higher because, the market adjustment. They said that it was a Toyota mandated market adjustment. That was the wording that she said they used. So a Toyota mandated market adjustment. And they said that it's not us. It's Toyota. They're telling us we have to charge this. So we can't not charge this number because Toyota told us to charge it. And that is totally wrong. So I ended up getting her the window sticker and a couple other things and saying, look, here's your actual information from Toyota. So, this is what Toyota said to charge for this car. Now, if you choose to pay that, that's on you. And I said, look, do you like the car? She liked the car. So I actually gave her some help and got her back at least to the original deal that she had agreed to. Which was still over MSRP, but I tried to help her out. So, but regardless, that just kind of that's happening out there. And there's a bunch of people that think it was the manufacturer. It was not the manufacturer, it was the dealership. That's why there was only 92% of the dealerships charging over MSRP. Because there was 8% of us that weren't, right? So kind of getting back into, how it's hurt the dealership though, all right? So now follow me on this, and this is where it's going to get really interesting. So the dealership themselves, most of us, like me personally, I have a very high repeat referral rate. There's a lot of people that'll work with me and then send me their mother, their father, their friends, coworkers, stuff like that. And that is literally the most amazing compliment you can give somebody, is to send them a friend or a family member that you actually care about. So that is an amazing thing, and I always appreciate that. So what, dealerships live on the exact same thing. They live on the fact that people will send additional business to them after they bought a car, or they'll come back and they service with that dealership, and they do, they do that. Those types of things. You'll come back, you'll buy parts from that same dealership. All those things are very important to the dealership. Dealership's not just one thing. It's not just to sell the car. It's to sell it, service it, and they want it as a trade-in when you're done with it, right? So all that stuff comes into play. Well, let's say that you paid a market adjustment and you know now what it did to you. You go to get out of that car. Let's say you go back to that same dealership, and say we're back to normal, which we're not yet, but let's just say we're back to normal. You go back to that dealership, you say, all right, I'm ready to sell my car and get into a brand new one. And they go, that's fine. You're $20,000 upside down. So we need a $20,000 check, and then you can buy the next car. As soon as they peel yourself off the ceiling, as soon as it's like, what? But you sold me the car, and you're just that far upside down. So, and I've already had people asking me to help them to get out of cars that they're just way upside down in. And there's only one way out of it, and it's cash. So, your car's worth what it's worth. And there's a kind of an old talking point or whatever you want to call it, in the auto industry, that it doesn't matter what your car is worth for the value, or what you owe in your car for what it's worth, right? For the value of it. So if and there's some people, I owe 30,000, I need 30,000. Okay, well, if you owe 10,000, would you want 10? Well, no, it's worth more than that. Exactly. What it's worth is no connection to what you owe. Now, whether or not you can get a deal may have a connection to what you owe, and does, if you're upside down, or if you have equity, right? So you could have a connection there, right? So just realize that there's a lot of people are just looking for what they owe on the car. It does not matter what you owe for what it's worth. So, but you've got a lot of these people that are, well, I'm not going back to that dealership. So back to how it's hurting the dealership, because they've finally realized what that dealership did to them. They buried them. Most of the dealerships that were doing it like really bad, or a lot of them, were in the small cities. Because if you consider it, the big cities, they had the volume still that they could at least keep their lots open and that. So it seems, at least from most of what I've found from some of the people I've talked to, it seems like these small dealerships that were in small towns, they're the ones that did it to their customers. Well, keep in mind, if you've got 30,000 people in a town, they all know each other. I mean, they just do, and they're going to all talk. And there's going to be some of those people that say, you know what, I'm going to drive 100 miles to the other dealership just so I don't have to go to yours. And that's going to be something that happens. You're going to get people with such a bad taste in their mouth, they're not going back. Or, here's the other thing, we were just talking about how far upside down. So when your average turn rate on a car is between 2 and, realistically 3 and 5 years, but some people do it after 2. But that 3 and 5 year turn rate, you're still going to be 15, 20,000 upside down unless you start now fixing that, right? So you go into that dealership and they're going to tell you need to put 20 grand down, and you don't have it. Then what happens? Well, I'll make this car work. I'll keep this car for longer. So instead of turning it in or trading it in after 3 years, you keep it for 6, you keep it for 7. So when that dealership could have sold you 2 more cars, because that's the normal amount of time that you trade in, they'd say any. So those cars are sitting on the lot because they can't get you in that car. So that's part of how it's going to be. The other thing that happened is when you lease, you have to come back, right? In 3 years, 24 months, 36, 39, 48. There's different leases that you can do. But all that you guarantee when you for your payment is that it will end at the particular months that it is, and then you have to do something. That's what you guarantee when you're in a lease. You don't have to particularly do anything. You can buy it out, you can trade it in, turn it in. You don't have to do one of those, but you have to do one of those. So they don't tell you what you got to do, but you have to do one. Hopefully that's clear. But anyway, so off-lease vehicles are great trade-ins. Great certified cars. They're really good to have on the lot. They're kind of what's known as a story vehicle. I know. My other customer, they had this. They traded it into me. I know that they serviced it really good. I saw them every time they were in it for service. Those types of stories that you can have on the car, and be like, yeah, they did this, they did that, whatever. You know the history and the pedigree of that car. That's valuable, right, to the next customer to know that. It just is, right? So you don't get that. You don't have that lease turn-in, because if you leased the car, you had to pay off the market adjustment in 3 years. So usually you lease a car, number one, there's people that like to get in and out of them a lot, which that's part of the reason. But more often than not, it's like, okay, so your payment's $600, or you can lease it for $490. And you're going, yeah, let's lease it. I'll lease it and we'll figure it out later, but let me get the lower payment. And in a lot of cases that could have been true. Well, now there's no real help from the manufacturer for a lease, and you've got this market adjustment that you've got to pay off in 36 months. So that means for every $3,600, your payment goes up $100. So in that, where it's $600 for a payment or $490 for a lease, well, you're up to $590 if it's a $3,600 markup. were very few people doing only a $3,600 markup. Most of the people that were doing any markup at all were doing $5,000 or more, and you get into some cars and it's $10,000, and it's, yeah. So why would you pay $700 to lease it and pay $600 to buy it? It wouldn't make any sense. So you did it, right? So, and I'm not saying those are exact numbers, but you kind of get the idea about how the math would end up working, right? So if that's the case, then you got what's known as a problem, right? So these dealerships are not getting those customers back. They're not coming back. They're not gonna be able to do anything, and it's not something that you can really overcome. It's a big issue, right? So now that kind of gives you what's going to happen. I think a lot of these dealerships are going to end up going out of business. They're not going to have any customers that can buy. They might have people that want to, but they're not going to have the volume of customers that can buy. So when prices normalize and things come back to where you might have to negotiate a deal a little bit harder, something like that, they're not going to have any room. They're not going to have anything that they can do. And by charging all these people over MSRP, they don't even realize they've destroyed their business. Completely destroyed their business. So that's something that is kind of weird to think about. So you charged a bunch of extra money and it put you out of business. It probably did. You're going to find that in the coming couple of years, it's going to be hard for a lot of them to stay open just because of that. So you'll see some change in hands, some change in names, things like that. Now, keep in mind, you might have the exact same people own it. They change the name of it to try to go, we're not them, and watch that happening too. So those are little predictions. Don't have a crystal ball, but I think I'm right on that. But now here's the last part of what I wanted to talk about. So a good 4-part series here, right? The last part is the overall customer experience. So, I said that when I started this video that the auto industry changed, the customer changed, and the dealership changed. But there's actually one additional part of that that's changed a lot. That's part of every piece of that, and it's the salesperson. So now I've been around at the time making this video. I'm just turning 7 with Beeman, but I've been around a little longer than that. But just with Beeman, I'm at 7 years. You see a lot in 7 years. See a lot of changes in model years. You see or model designs and stuff. You see a lot of changes in those kind of things. This is kind of this is weird, right? So it's a weird time, strange time. But your salesperson, right? Your salesperson's changed a lot. We used to be called sales consultants, and they still call them sales consultants. But realistically, there's very few people out there that are selling cars that are still sales consultants. I pride myself on, when I make the videos about, how to work your car and that, I pride myself on making sure that that, how to work your car. There's salespeople out there that don't know near enough about their cars to be able to even show you how to use it. That's why you guys look at my channel, and I appreciate you guys looking at my channel. And when I first started my channel, I was like, this is all the stuff your salesman should have told you. And that was kind of the reason that I started it. It's like, look, all these people don't understand their cars. Why not? Is there not a salesperson out there that thinks that they need to make themselves better to be more valuable to their customer, right? And it's just kind of, it's crazy. So that's, and realistically, look at it too. That's why some of these online places had the opportunity to try to become something, because sales consultant wasn't a sales consultant anymore. You're just, they always call it the 3 C's. See your car, see your keys, see you later, right? And they didn't show you your car. They didn't even offer. And there's some people say, nope, I'm good. Okay, that's fine. That's your right, of course. But they didn't even offer. How does that make any sense? So these people aren't sales consultants anymore. If you're watching this and you're in sales, learn your product And if you're watching my channel, then you probably, that's probably your mindset. So I'm probably not even talking about you, but learn your product if you're a salesperson and help your customer, because these things, they are not like, I mean, they're not simple. They used to be simple. These things are spacious. I mean, look at I have a 14-inch computer on my dash on my Tundra, right? I have a 14-inch computer. So just realize that they're, so you've got all these people that are calling themselves sales consultants, right? That have been working in dealerships, taking orders. Yep, we've got one coming in. It'll be here on the 14th, and and then we've got this, that, the other thing, and I'll put your name on the list, and then you come in and sign here, and there you go. And now you're back to the back, and then here's your keys. Have a good day. We'll see you when you come back for your next car. And what? It's you're an order taker. You're not a salesperson. So that happens a lot, right? So I think we're going to get back to where salespeople are actually consultants again, and they're going to talk to you, and they're going to help you to know your car. Now, I will tell you this, that there was somebody that I talked to that came in looking for a Highlander, and I'll never forget this, because he came in, he told me he had gone to a Kia dealership, and he was looking for a Telluride, and they had one, which was amazing, right? They had one. It was on the lot. And he was like, yeah, I saw on your website you guys had a Telluride. Yeah, we do. It's right there. It's 24.5 over sticker, or you can leave. Guy's like, excuse me? It's 24.5 over sticker, or you can leave. That's not a sales consultant, right? I mean, that guy left, and the guy's like, look, we've got one of them. I'm not wasting time with somebody that's going to try to not pay what we have to get on that car. Dude, you're asking for $25,000 over MSRP for a car that's notorious for not holding that kind of value. It won't hold that value. I mean, unless something just dramatically changes, and I know some things have dramatically changed, but it's not going to hold that value in the long run, right? So, but yeah, so we're to a different age, right? And there was a lot of people that were doing that, and you got phone calls that you were making with your sales consultant, and you've got or your salesperson, and you had these phone calls, and you're going, hey, is that car in your lot? Yeah, it's here. You get down there, it's not there. Oh yeah, well, these people are not doing the right thing by you guys. So that kind of being said, you kind of understand where I'm coming from. I don't want to make this video too long, but that's kind of the gist on it. So you're going to have all these people, when it comes to the market, that they're going to be upside down. There's not going to be any way out, and you just need to make extra payments and try to buy yourself into a better position. It's really probably the only way out, unless the market just spikes again, and I don't know that it's going to spike. I think we've already spiked, but I don't know that it's gonna spike again. So then we're gonna watch for some of these dealerships that were really bad to people, and they're probably gonna drop out, go out of business. Their service revenues, all that stuff's gonna dry up, just because people hold grudges. People remember, especially small town people. They remember and they tell people. So that's gonna be an issue, right? And then you're gonna have all this is gonna happen, right? And you're gonna find out that I'm right. And now hopefully we get back to a better day. And I think some of these sales consultants that do these things like I was talking about, I think they're going to be weeded out. And I think that we're going to be in a better spot due to that. But I'm pretty sure they're going to get weeded out. But yeah, so that's my market update that I was trying to give you guys, a bit on the market adjustments and the addendums. Like I said, there's a place for an addendum, but it's not for adding additional profit. Normally it's for adding things to a new vehicle and obviously getting back what you paid for it, of course. But yeah, so Steve Welch, kind of giving you guys a market adjustment. Yeah, not giving you a market adjustment. We never did at Beeman. So hopefully that when it comes down to it, if you're looking at us and somebody else, that you'll give us the opportunity to help you, because we didn't do that. And definitely, if you come in here, or if you reach out to Beeman, then I can work with you. I will be your salesperson, guys. So reach out to me directly here at the store, or at buyatoyotanashville@yahoo.com. Buyatoyotanashville@yahoo.com. I'm more than happy to help you guys. If you have any other questions, things like that, feel free to reach out. Steve Welch, beautiful Nashville, guys. You guys have a great day. I'm going to talk to you soon. Bye.